Do you have a large amount of data that is not going to change? Historic data that can be stored and there will be no revisions. If so, Incremental Refresh is for you. In this tutorial, that's exactly what we're going to cover. Here I've got a basic report, just a visual and some tables. Now my tables have come from Excel for my 2-dimension tables, and my fact table has come from SQL. There is a slight difference whether if your fact table comes from Excel or SQL, and we'll see that later. But for the most part, you will still be able to do the same steps. Go up to Transform Data. And here we're going to need to create 2 parameters, and these are going to act as our filters for the historic data. So I'm going to go to Manage Parameters, New Parameter. And the names do have to be specific. Range Start and Range End. Now you have to make sure that these are date times. So I'm going to go down to my type and change that to date time. In current value, I'm going to put in the 1st of January 2015, as that's my earliest date. Because this is a date time, I'm going to have to put in a time as well. So I'm going to put in midnight. Click on New, and we'll create our second parameter. This is going to be Range End. Again, type, date time, and I'm going to put in the 31st of December, and my endpoint is going to be 2021. And then my end of day, 23:59:59. If you feel the need to put in milliseconds, you can do so, but I don't feel the need here. Once you've created your 2 parameters, click OK. And then go to your fact table. So in this case, the purchase table. You have to do this on a date time column. If you don't have a date time column, consider duplicating your date column and then just change the data type to time. That'll put zeros against all of the rows, but that's okay, it's not going to make much difference. Go to your purchase date time, use the drop down, date time filters, and I'm going to go for a between filter. In here, we're going to use these 2 date drop downs and select parameter from both. The parameters I'm going to choose are my range start and my range end. That's going to filter all the data between these 2 dates. Click OK. If you can't see that drop down, you can turn it on via the View tab, Parameters, Always Allow, or you can go to File, Settings, and in Data Query, you can allow parameterization. Now we've done that, click on Close and Apply. Enjoy the fact that that's the last long load time that you're going to have to deal with. Go down to Model View on the left hand side. Right click on your fact table with the filters and go down to Incremental Refresh. The table we're doing it to is the purchase table. So I'm going to come down and click on Incrementally Refresh this data. And in here I want my archiving start date and end date. So I can choose from days, months, quarters, years. Well, I want the last 6 years of data. So that's from the end of 2021 to the beginning of 2015. Then I've got the incrementally refresh date starting. So this is where it's going to be looking in the data for those changes. So if I choose the last 1 year, my data is going to be stored from the 1st of January 2015 to the 31st of December 2020. And my incremental refresh is going to be the last year. So the 1st of the 1st, 2021 to the 31st of the 12th, 2021. If I scroll down, the get the latest data in real time is a premium feature. And unfortunately, that's not premium per user. That's if you're using premium capacity. What that will allow us to do is actually have a live connection. This means that whenever I do a query, the last year worth of data only will be a direct query. This is only available if you're using a database source, so this will be grayed out if you are trying to use an Excel source. One of my favorite things is if you're not entirely certain if you've got it right, look down in step 4 and you see you've got this review and apply. 6 years before my refresh date is going to be archived. 1 year before my refresh date is going to be incrementally refreshed. And then after that is going to be my real-time data. So I chose to have my information based off of the end of 2021. So 6 years before that, and then 1 year before that. If I didn't want to do that, I can always untick this, because otherwise it's going to whinge at me when I try and publish it. It'll say something like, this is not a premium capacity server, please upgrade, and it will try and trick you. Only refresh the complete year, so that's going to look in the year, the incremental refresh, and it's going to look for any of those changes. So I'm going to choose detect data changes. Only refresh data in the last year, the maximum value of the date time column changes. If you use the drop down, now, this can't be the same column, so I can't choose purchase date time, because that's the one my refresh is based on. You would have a secondary column called something like last refreshed on, or maybe a column that's called change date. And this will only look for rows that have that changed date value. Now I'm happy with that, I can click apply. You won't see any benefit if you just click refresh now. It's only going to show you that benefit after you've published the report. The first initial publish will take longer than maybe previous publishes, but after that you'll see a noticeable difference, as whenever you refresh it will only update the last year of data, and it will only update the rows that have that updated value. I hope you've enjoyed this Wise Out short. If you have, do leave a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.